You're listening to In the Chair, a podcast for Freemasons in England, the UK and around the world. Find out more at masonicpodcast.com. But first, welcome your host, Robert Bone.
Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening indeed. I hope you're having a great day whenever, and as I say, wherever you're listening to this. And this is, of course, In the Chair, a podcast for Freemasons in the England, UK and anywhere in the world. And not just for Freemasons, but also anyone interested in Freemasonry and perhaps finding out a little bit more. Perhaps they might be interested in joining. So if you are one of those people, or you know someone who might be, then do as well put them in the way of, point them in our direction for the Masonic podcast. So many thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good time and hope you've enjoyed the previous 11 episodes. If you're a new listener, you've missed 11 of these so far. Go back, either hop onto iTunes or Stitcher or go onto the website masonicpodcast.com and you can listen to it on there. Of course, if you do it through iTunes and Stitcher, that gives you the opportunity to subscribe so that future episodes will also come through automatically for you, as well as you can go back and listen to the previous ones. And just search for In the Chair Masonic Podcast, you should find it, or there are links on the website that would take directly through to your iTunes and Stitcher. So many thanks for taking the time to have a listen today. And today is quite a interesting episode, and this one come about through social media, which ironically is what the topic's about. Before actually cracking on too much, I just want to say I do get feedbacks and comments from people, and someone actually mentioned that they thought the show was a little bit too biased for my particular province that I'm in, which is sort of fair enough, and I appreciate that. I know some of the last shows have actually had a few people from the province of Berkshire. Now, the problem I have is I have started this completely off of my own back. I've put my own finances into this. I'm not getting any sort of support on that side of things, on the finance side of things, and I am doing this completely independently. Now, the great thing with that means I don't have to I'm not towing a party line. I can get on whoever I want to talk about whatever I want. The main thing is, as long as I don't discuss what I'm in air quotes time now, the secrets of Freemasonry, I can pretty much do what I want, and I think that's fine, and most people appreciate that. The problem arises, of course, is being independent and doing this without any network behind me means I need to try to get the guests on myself. And it's surprising, and I'm genuinely shocked about how little response I get when I send emails to people asking them to be on the show. Some people bite my hands off. They cannot get on the show quick enough. They appreciate what I'm doing. It's surprising, though. I can send out emails, explain what the show is, what it's about, why I think they'd make a great interview, why they'd make a great, conversation, and I don't even get a no. I just literally don't have any response at all. The recipients are just reading the email and hitting the delete button, which is shocking when the point of this is to promote. They're out there saying we need to be promoting, need to be embracing new technologies, getting the message of Freemasonry out there on all the mediums, and then I come along doing it off my own back and they hit the delete button. However, the province that I'm a member of, Berkshire, they saw what I was doing, enjoyed what I was doing. I know the PGM listens to it and the assistant PGM, so a quick hello to them whilst they're listening. And they thought, well, hang on, this guy's out, he's doing this off his own back. What will they do is help support me. And in that respect, it's just sort of like on the provincial website, when a new podcast comes out, a little article on there with the links to how they can find it. And it also means they're saying, well, actually, if you want guests, we've got some people that we can talk about. And of course, they genuinely have got achievements. It's not just getting them on for the sake of it. For example, with Berkshire, we actually managed to raise in 4 years over £500,000. It was a 5-year target, and we actually smashed that target within 4 years. Now, a massive part of Freemasonry is about charity. So it makes sense if someone, the charity, the provincial charity steward has, made that achievement, is obviously doing something right. That's obviously a good reason to get them on the podcast. Now, if you're in another province and you know someone, or maybe perhaps it's you, who has got something that's worth talking about Freemasonry, please do put them in contact. I don't know. I cannot know everything whilst I'm sat in the little, literally sat in the spare room of my house with a little makeshift studio that I've set up off my own back. So if you know someone or there's an interesting story, put them in contact with me, and also let them know about who I am. I've got a feeling that some of these people, they don't, although I try to explain what a podcast is, it's something that they're not aware of. so they just sort of like pass it by. They don't know. They're not embracing the these things, basically the things that are out there, the tools that are available for anyone to use. So please do get in contact. And now, of course, you can do that through Twitter. It's the handle on that is Masonic Podcast, or go on to masonicpodcast.com, drop me an email, robert@masonicpodcast.com. Let me know your suggestions, and as I said, if you can give them a heads up, let me know why they would be a good fit, because if someone's worth out there, then I will happily have them on the show and talk about it. And as I said before, that is exactly what happened with today's guest. Now, Nigel Harris Cooksley, he's the secretary of a lodge, North Harrow Lodge, and that meets in the province of Middlesex. And as I said before, we were connected through social media. And the reason he's on is because he and what he's done with his lodge website and using social media completely floored me. I knew that he had got some great achievements. I just didn't know how big these achievements were. And you'll probably hear that from the reaction in my voice when he's actually telling me. That wasn't me acting, that was me genuinely being stunned of just what he had managed to achieve. Now, at some points towards the end of the interview, it does get a little bit technical. Now, if you're not too sure what we're talking about, then listen to it again. The show notes are available as well. They're at masonicpodcast.com/12. However, the more technical stuff you've got to listen to, you might want to wind it back, listen to it a few times. Now, if you're listening to it thinking, actually, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't really apply to me in our lodge, then it might actually be a sign that actually, no, that is the bit that you do need to listen to, and that is the bit that you do need to apply when setting up a lodge website and trying to bring people in. I hope you enjoy the interview. So I say please get in contact, and also if whilst you're listening to it you have any questions, we decided at the end of this interview we're going to make this the first part of a 2-part interview. The second part will hopefully be in a couple of weeks or a month or two's time. Give you a chance to listen to it and for people to catch up and listen again and think of their questions. And the reason we're doing that is because we've covered a lot and we started getting into some things in quite depth. However, at the same time, we barely scratched the surface. This really is the beginner's guide. So we thought what we'll do is talk about this bit for now, and then if you have questions of it, if you're not too sure on anything, or you want a bit of advice, just to maybe answer anything that we're covering, or maybe bits that we didn't cover and you want a bit of information on, drop me a line. It's robert@masonicpodcast.com, or again through Twitter, Masonic Podcast on Twitter, and that way I'll bring together a few questions. We'll get Nigel back on, ask those questions to then turn that second half of it into a Q&A with you, the listener. So please let me know if you have any questions on that or any advice and tips you might want to bring forward. We've got to all work together as a team. As Nigel says, he wants other people to be taking his ideas and using them because it's worked for him and their province. There's no reason why other lodges, other provinces cannot be doing this themselves and bringing in the new initiates that they've done. So please welcome to In the Chair, Nigel Harris Cooksley from North Harrow Lodge. Hello there and welcome to In the Chair. Today I've got a guest with me who's going to be talking about social media and how Freemasons can use social media. It's Nigel Cooksley from North Harrow Lodge, number 6557. So hi there Nigel, welcome to In the Chair.
Hello there. Yes, my name is Nigel Harris Cooksley. I'm secretary of the North Harrow Lodge, 6557 in the province of Middlesex.
Great.
And nice to speak to you, Robert.
Great, and many thanks for taking some time out to chat with us today. And the reason why you're on is actually what you're here to talk about, and how I got put in contact with you, which is with Twitter. And you're quite good at using social media for Freemasonry purposes. Is probably the polite way to put it.
Yes, I started about 3 years ago on Twitter, but that was following when I set up the lodge website, because we were in a dire strait in the lodge. The membership was down to around about 16.
Okay. And
we had to do something differently. So I set up a website, and Twitter was the natural progression from setting the website up.
Actually, I'll mention now, so we get them out there, and of course all the details will be in the show notes, so anyone who's listening can go onto the show notes for the direct links. But I'll just check that the Twitter handle that you're talking about is Harrow Freemason, and the website it's northharrowlodge.org. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Great.
Yeah.
So anyone listening, they can hop onto the website, go onto the Twitter feed and see directly what we're talking about. So sorry to interrupt there, Nigel, but carry on.
That's fine. Say in 2010, we were in a dire straits, set up the website, and within 4 months, we had 4 inquiries.
Right.
And the following year, we had another 7, and the following year. To cut a long story short, in those 4 years, we have initiated 22 candidates.
Right. So, hang on. Sorry. So you'd gone from 16 members, and
30,
then added on 22. Did you say?
Correct.
Wow.
We're up to 30. Our membership now, 5 years later, after setting the website up, is 38. We did double initiations at every ceremony for 3 years.
Wow.
At every lodge meeting for 3 years.
That's stunning, because I know when Owen, who had put you in through Facebook, through Twitter, of course, had put me in contact with you and said, you've done well, you've grown the lodge, you'd set up the website, you'd use Twitter to revive the lodge. I thought, well, that's great. You'd managed to, using the website and Twitter to bring people in. It's fantastic. I didn't realise quite how fantastic it actually was.
Well, it's even more than that, because we've given away 38 others to other lodges in Middlesex.
Hang on.
And
so
that's 38 initiates.
30. So you've put 22 directly into North Harrow Lodge, and 38 into other lodges in Middlesex. Now, I know it was a while ago since I'd done my GCSEs and maths, but to me that means 60 initiates, and that's not inquiries. That's actually candidates who have actually, how should we say, signed to the dotted line and gone in and taken their obligation.
And of course, what we've also done is, because we brought in 22 of our own, we did the initiations, and our lodge meets 4 times a year. One is an installation meeting, so the other 3 meetings were taken up with the initiations, so they all had to progress. So we gave away 32 ceremonies to other lodges.
Right.
To help us out and also help them out, because they had no work to do.
Sure, because that's the thing, is part of a lodge that's sort of on the decline is not only do you lose members, but because you haven't got the new people coming in, it can be quite a lot of demonstrations. And actually, I think when a lodge maybe has had a few demonstrations for for maybe a year or two without any new candidates coming in, actually seeing someone else having to do it for other lodges kind of does inspire them a little bit. It fires them up a bit and may get them to bring in a few younger people themselves.
Absolutely, and and that was the reason for going on to Twitter, because it's all right me doing this for our lodge and the lodges in the province, but it would also be good to put the news out there, or put the word out there, saying, you can do this if you set up a website, if you do it on social media, if you get involved with social media, you'll hear about all these things. Because Twitter, in the early days, when you had a lodge meeting, you didn't have any idea what anyone was doing, even in your province. Now with Twitter, you find out what everyone's doing all over the country, actually all over the world.
Yes.
So as a tool of communication, it's really, really good.
I mean, to put it into perspective from my point of view, from running the In the Chair podcast, the only way people know that this exists is through Twitter. I started it at the end of August with no followers, a blank slate on a Twitter, set up a new Twitter account, and 2 months later, I'm now approaching 5,000 downloads. And I'm not too sure, but around about 600 followers on Twitter, who are all, many of them are retweeting to put it to other people. And for me, that really then opened my eyes to think, hang on a minute, when I started this, I thought it might just be a few friends of mine and a few other people in my province, and the odd person maybe that finds me on Twitter. And that has illustrated from my personal point of view. So with yourself, I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, if I'm just bumbling along, you've obviously spent a few years working out maybe a system or a filter process or something, a conveyor belt to bring people in. And you said you're teaching other lodges how to do this. Well, what we're doing, or they could learn somewhere.
Well, we're inspiring other lodges,
right,
by showing them what we do, how we've done it. And I think 3 years ago, Grand Lodge asked me to deliver a presentation to the Mentors Conference, annual Mentors Conference at Grand Lodge, which I did. And the main, I suppose, criticism at that time was that, yes, you brought in all these people, but how are you going to keep them?
Right.
Number 22 in the line is going to be 25 years before he actually gets through the lodge. Are they going to wait that long? Well, the answer to that was fairly clear. One was, ask us in about 3 years' time,
right? And
I'll tell you. And the other one is that not everyone wants to go through the chair immediately. Not everyone is able. And also, there are people out there who want to join, and through social media and the websites, that is a tool to actually get them to you. Because I think gone are the days where you've asked your uncle, aunt, brother, sister, and most lodges have exhausted all those avenues. Social media is definitely the way forward.
Yes, I heard. I've mentioned it on I can't remember one of the previous podcasts. I saw a talk from the Right Worshipful Ray Reid, who was talking about a survey that had been done from about 18,000 Masons over the last few years, and one of the things was that they found surprising, but when they looked into it, it made a bit more sense. Was that people who join Freemasonry, who have gone online, researched it themselves, found a lodge through the internet by a search on Google, found some things through Twitter perhaps, and found it that way, are more likely to stay in Masonry because they actually have a bit of an idea and a bit more proactive, being more proactive about it, as opposed to someone who gets brought in by waiting for someone to say, have you ever thought of, because then they don't really know what they're joining.
Yes, I think you're right.
And that was quite surprising, the retention when people joined, because they actually knew, they had a bit of an idea what it was about. And, they wanted to join, I think. Yes. And it's that subtle, is that bit of a difference. But when you bring people, your new inquiries, do they normally come through Facebook? Not as well. Do you do Facebook at all, or is it mainly Twitter? Or
I do Facebook, but I just have a page on there. So I actually... through the website, there's a link that when I post anything on the website, on one of the blogs, I run a blog on the website as well.
Right.
That automatically gets posted to Twitter and to Facebook and any other medium that I'm involved in.
Oh,
so
okay.
It goes out there automatically. As soon as I post it on the website, it gets uploaded to Twitter and the North Harrow Lodge website, Facebook page as well.
So you really are building a web up on the internet, really. Well, because I guess different people use the internet in different ways. Some people are more Facebook users, some people are more Twitter users, and some people follow blogs, and some people listen to podcasts.
That's true, and it's all parts of communication.
Yes, because you don't know. I guess that's the thing, is you don't know how your next prospective candidate's going to find you.
No, you don't.
You've got to cover those options, and as you say, you cannot rely on someone's uncle saying, "Have you ever considered joining Freemasonry?" Nowadays, you've got got to get out there, and I'm sure with the tercentenary celebrations that are going to be coming up in a few years, people are going to then be wanting to find out more themselves. So people like yourself and other lodges who get the infrastructure in place now are then going to have the be in the prime position, I guess.
Well, I suppose that what I say to new lodges now is that get a website up, get a Facebook page up, because if you don't have anything on a website or anything on Facebook, no one will find you.
No.
And I think that over the years, what's happened is that one of the early starters of setting up a website for a lodge, and we're topping Google now. So if you tap in Harrow and anything to do with Freemasonry, we come top.
Brilliant.
Anything to do with Middlesex and Freemasonry, we come on the first page. So most people who are looking, they'll tap on the first link that comes through. They don't like trawling through pages in Google.
Sure.
They take the first page, and it's shown by our results. I don't think many lodges can, I hate to say boast, but many lodges can boast 60 odd candidates come through their website or something.
I definitely think you're in the upper quartile on that one. Yeah.
But the main thing, of course, is that our average age of 5 years ago, our average age in the lodge was 67.
Right.
Our average age now is 47.
Okay, and that's really bringing that down. And of course, you've probably got quite a few of those members although that's the average, probably quite a few of them are at the lower end, mid-20s.
Well, I think the last out of the last 7 candidates that have come in, 5 of them have been under 30.
Right.
And we've got 2 in the wings now that are coming in at our next meeting and meeting after. One is 28 and the other is 21.
Right.
And the 21-year-old contacted me 3 years ago and said, I'd like to join Freemasonry. I said, well, I'm sorry, you're too young.
Right.
Because he had nothing to do with the university scheme or or his parents weren't in. I said, you'll have to wait until you're 21. After his 21st birthday, which was a couple of months ago, he emailed me back again and said, I'm 21 now, I want to join.
Brilliant.
And then you go, well, how can you not bring a guy like that in?
Yeah.
We've interviewed him. He came along to a barbecue that I held at the house, and what a nice guy. And he's coming. He'll be the one that's coming in March.
Right.
So we're still bringing in. What we've done in the lodge is that we've consolidated the lodge now. We've got, as I said, 38. We'll have 40 next year. And any others I give away to other lodges, because you've got to look after, you've got to mentor and keep the ones you've got. So far, we've had 100% retention in the last 5 years.
That is a really good statistic. I don't think many lodges, even if they only bring in, obviously not that high a number at all, but not many lodges can really claim to even have 100% retention. I believe the figures are normally somewhere around about, I think, 1 in 4 to 1 in 5. I think somewhere between 20 to 25%. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head, but from that talk that I saw with Ray Reid a while back, I think very roughly it was, somewhere between 20 to 25% is the normal drop-off rate. So for you to keep 100% of them, you're smashing that record as well. Well,
what we try and do is that when I first joined, I didn't have a choice. There were 40. I think the lodge then was North Harrow Lodge. Then ran at I think about 40, and I was initiated, and I went through the chair in 5 years.
Okay.
You didn't have the choice. You were stuck on the ladder straight away, and you progressed, and you just got on with it. Now I think times have changed. People do not want to be pressurised into getting on the ladder. They don't want to be pressurised into doing things before they're really ready. So now we have a system whereby we can ask. We've got 10 stewards now in the lodge. Right. And every year I send out an email and I ask them who would like to progress. And we take it in chronological order by the time they came in. So no one has their nose out of joint by, why has he gone in when I came in before him? We ask everyone the same question, goes down the list, and one of them goes on as inner guard. And what's happened is that everyone so far has been so happy to go forward when they want to. So now I think we're down to maybe the last 4 or 5 that came in. Yeah. One of those is inner guard, because the others aren't in a position. They change jobs, or they still come along. They still want to do work in the lodge. So
I was going to say, although they might not actually be going into one of the progressive offices like the inner guard and then going on to deacons, that doesn't mean that occasionally they probably don't do something like the working tools. Perhaps
that's true. At our next meeting, I think we'll have someone doing all aspects, all the work will be done except for the master. All the work will be done by light blues.
Brilliant.
Most will be done by the stewards. So the working tools, northeast corner will be split in two. The charge after initiation will be done by our junior, our junior warden.
Right.
So everything is done by lay brethren, and that really inspires them to say, well, look, you don't have to do big pieces. You can do little pieces, stand up there, do your little piece, and you'll find that it gives you so much confidence.
Definitely. That's the thing, I think, is you do need people, and I've seen people leave Freemasonry, partly because they say, I don't want to progress, don't want to do anything, don't really want to stand up, but then because they don't do anything, they then start, after a while, realise that's getting a bit boring, and then it always seems further away, and it's a bigger challenge, and then they start building pressure on. But if you can have those people who maybe aren't taking the offices, but still doing little bits, and as what you said as well, was they're not just doing the charge in the northeast, they're starting off by just doing part of it. So it's not like they've even got a massive, lots to do. Sometimes just a couple of paragraphs, and it's surprising that little couple of paragraphs will keep the, I wouldn't say the pressure on, but it keeps the motivation going. So that then they can do those bits, and then when those offices start opening up and they can start proceeding through and progressing through those offices, they're not going to feel as though they've been spending their time and money to sit on the side benches for a couple of years to watch everyone else.
That's right, and of course it gets them involved in the lodge. They come along to LFI then, where beforehand there were maybe 4 or 5 of us would be at LFI and preaching to the converted, I hate to say. And you think, well, what's the point? But now, on average, we get between 12 and 16 along to LFI.
Okay, that's a good turnout, yeah.
It's really good. And the young guys have a few drinks in the bar, bit of social, get up there, have a little laugh and a joke, get through the work, and it's a nice, enjoyable evening for them, something different. Nice, enjoyable evening for them, and they get to know us old guys. Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the younger Masons I interviewed back on podcast 10 said that he absolutely loved going to Lodge of Instruction because it's exactly that. It was you're doing your stuff, you still get the buzz out of doing it, and you're integrating with people. So, I think when people think of Lodge of Instruction as just somewhere to go where you've got to learn and do your homework for, but I think you've really taken the essence of what it's about, and it's people having fun at it, and I think with people having fun, then they're more inclined to carry on with it and keep doing it.
You've got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy your Freemasonry, otherwise there's no point being it.
It is no one forces us to do it. You've got to. No one's forcing you to keep going each month. No one's forcing you to learn all this stuff, really, apart from yourself. And you've got to, as you say, you've got to enjoy it. But actually, when you're going back a bit to bringing new people, back in, you said you've got the website, and you show obviously on Google as well, and you've got Twitter. Do you find some people contact you directly, or would you say people go from Twitter onto the website and then contact you through the website?
In answer to your question, we've had 3 initiates from Twitter.
Right.
I'm trying to think of their handles, actually. Maybe not. They might not want to.
Fair enough.
Regardless what they are. But 3 initiates from Twitter, and all 3 have been great guys. But what I say is, when they contact through Twitter, go to the website. Everything's on the website about the costs and where we meet, what we do, how often do we meet, and then send me an email so I've got all your details. Then I'll respond, and I normally do that fairly quickly. I'll respond with all my details. So there's a cross-examination of details, and then I can ask them questions, and then we meet. And what would normally happen is that we'd meet normally in the local Masonic centre or in a pub or a cafe somewhere, 2 or 3 of us, and interview the guy. And you can normally tell if you're sitting there for about an hour and a half with a guy whether he is the type of person that you would actually want in your lodge. And we take it from there. So from there, we get all their details, and then we meet them maybe at 1 or 2 social functions, and within normally we say about maybe 6 months, they're they're initiated.
Right. So it is. I didn't know whether, because of course people might be listening to this thinking, well, we've got a lodge website, because I know our lodge website, Kennet Lodge. We've got a website, and it does rank on Google. Can rank quite high, but we've also got like a Twitter account as well. But then what can happen is sort of thinking, well, are we missing, because we're not getting a huge amount of inquiries come through. So is there does Twitter lead to the website and then the website leads to the inquiry, or but you said it kind of it can work. The two can work independently of each other, I guess.
Yes. Well, what I do is that I link them all. So what happens is you make your Twitter feed fairly interesting. Like I think you mentioned that I put graphs on there. Well, they go, oh well, the graphs. Well, the graphs are available on the website, so you give a link to the website. So yes, if you want to have a look at them, you can go to the website, and that draws people from Twitter to the website, and likewise. It normally doesn't go the other way, but as I was saying, that on the website, when I do posts, I run a blog that I started about 2 years ago now.
Right.
And my daughter said to me, be very careful. All blogs start up with all great intentions, and after 3 months, it becomes too much a hassle and they fail. 75% of blogs that start up fail.
Sure.
So I tend to blog once a month. Sometimes it's very hard to find content, but I try and blog every month. And then that automatically goes on to Twitter, and then that almost also gets a feed, because I've got analytics that show me exactly how many people have hit the website and how many people have looked at the Twitter feed and stuff like that. And so it actually gives me a rough idea on how many people are actually looking at the data.
Okay.
And that almost does the same thing. I think at the moment, I've got about 2,600 followers on Twitter. I would never have even dreamt of even getting that in 3 years. And I don't chase followers. They must be interested in what I'm putting on there.
What you're doing.
Well, I hope they find it inspiring that they can go out and produce their lodge website and actually get the candidates in.
So what? Well, actually, 2 ways to maybe get people following you on Twitter. Let's cover, like, the first one might be the use of hashtags. Is that something that you use much, or do you try to focus on hashtags at all?
No, I don't.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't intentionally put hashtags down.
Right.
I know that some people do actually log a hashtag, or they just hashtag, and it sends through a feed of everyone that's used that hashtag. So I generally don't, because I don't know of any prolific hashtags that are specifically for Freemasons, basically.
Sure. That's the thing, is if someone's using a hashtag, and for some listeners might be listening going, what's that? That's the little noughts and crosses type board that sometimes people use on social media. And you might even see it on adverts and things, and it's just a way to tag something that someone might search for. It almost categorises it as a topic, doesn't it?
Yes, it actually puts the hashtag. You can search a hashtag, and it'll actually search all of Twitter and put them all in one mailbox, one feed. But you'll be able to see what everyone who's tapped that in. Sometimes it may be relevant to what you're talking about, but if it's specific, for argument's sake, lately it's been the Rugby World Cup, RWC 2015, bring up every feed that has actually had that in.
Yes.
So I don't tend to use it with Twitter, I suppose mainly because I don't have enough characters left.
Fair enough. That's the thing with Twitter. You are only unlimited to, I think it's 144 characters to get a sentence in, and if that's by the time that maybe includes a link to a website or something, and actually saying what it's about, to start trying to put hashtags in. And I guess the other thing with hashtags is, like for the Rugby World Cup, which is exactly the example I was going to say, which obviously is on at the moment, but people following that and people using that, and sometimes you see them on TV programmes, that's something current. But with something like Freemasonry, although there's 200,000 odd Freemasons in the UK alone, they're not all on Twitter using the Freemason or something hashtag. So I guess that's the thing, is it depends. Yeah, you might be able to dominate a hashtag, but that doesn't mean that many people are going to be looking for it in the first place. But I guess if you're putting on the content people want, people are going to follow it anyway.
And another thing with Twitter, of course, is that you can. If your our website is a fairly long characterized name, so if I was to put that in Twitter, it would use up maybe 50 odd characters, let's suppose. So I tend to use a shortened version. So you use Italy or something like that. Yes. There are one or two websites that actually you just tap your cut and paste your website in, and it'll actually give you a much shortened version as a shortened link to it.
Yes, I mean, I do a similar thing with the podcast, because if I link to a show on iTunes, by the time it's iTunes.this, and then there's all these forward slashes and pretty much all, this thing that goes on for about 50 characters of all ones and fours and zeros and all those bits. But that's a great idea, to shorten things. And I guess, although I mentioned at the beginning, people are listening to this, then just to recap, it was Harrow Freemason on Twitter. So I guess if people are listening to this and thinking, well, this all sounds interesting, hop onto Twitter or go onto twitter.com/Harrow Freemason. That will take them straight onto your Twitter account, and they can see and click the links and then go directly onto the website as well to see how you've laid the website out. And I do see, actually, because I've just looking at the website, as you mentioned, you're being very open. You do have on the menu right across the top, it says home, it says becoming a Freemason, so you're straight away saying how do you become a Freemason. Then the next one is what it costs, what we do, what we did next, and a little members area for you, I'm assuming a calendar and everything. And you've targeted that too for people who are, I'm looking at it going, this is so obvious. Why haven't I done this for our lodge one? Because, to be honest, most lodge websites seem to be created, by members for the members. Now, the members know where to go. They know it's every fourth Wednesday of the month and whereabouts it is, and they know what the people look like, and they know how much it costs, because our treasurer chases us up each year. But a new person looking to join doesn't know any of that, and you've gone bang. You've actually called the menu titles the questions that someone's going to ask as soon as they go onto the website. Which I think that might be the secret behind your website.
Well, the whole object of the exercise was when I set the website up, was to specifically direct it at non-Freemasons, but non-Freemasons who may want to join, who may have an interest. So, of course, with that is, and of course, Google, in their infinite wisdom, they index the first two paragraphs or one paragraph of a website, looking for, I suppose, what people tap into Google in that first paragraph. Yes. So if someone looking to join Freemasonry, they may tap into Google. I want to joining Freemasonry in Harrow. But they're joining Freemasonry in Harrow, they're coming straight to us because we're the top of the list. They'll click on us.
I guess if someone were to type in what does it cost to join Freemasonry in Harrow, not only are you going to come at the top, but they're going to go straight to your page. That gives them the costs, or gives them the idea. And whereas any other links they click on are all going to be a bit. How shall I sometimes say? Because I had this similar conversation when I was setting up the Kennet Lodge website, our lodge website. I said we don't want too many pictures of, to put it politely, white-haired men stood there in black suits wearing aprons, because that's what lots of all the other websites were. And to be honest, that isn't the target market for the people that are searching on Google. They don't want that. That's it. Well, that's right. They're not seeing themselves in that picture.
That's right. And the photograph I think I've got on the front page of mine of our web members of I think that was a couple of years ago. They've all got dark. Quite a few have got dark hair, and there's a lot of light blue there. So that makes a terrific amount of difference. That you're right. The conception is that we're all dodgy old fogies, and where are why would a 21-year-old want to join a lodge that's the average age is 60, 70 or 80.
Well, with Kennet Lodge, when I set the website up for that, and for the last, I mean, that must have been about 4 years ago, because I think I've had about 4 different masters on the front page. Each one I say, what we do is on the front page, just do a little introduction from the master of the lodge with their photograph. And I've always said, I don't want pictures of you stood there in suits and aprons. I want pictures of them when they're out and about as they normally are. So one of the masters had a picture of him whilst he was with his wife at a function at a party. Another one who is a drummer, not of a picture of him playing his drums.
Yes.
You know, sat behind the drum kit. Yeah, and another one at sort of a barbecue event, because that's the picture we want to get across to people, to say, look, we are actually human beings who go out and have fun.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's, you know, and that's actually quite a big part of Freemasonry, is to, as we said earlier, you've got to have fun in it.
And that's why I set up the blog, because the blog takes it away and does and has articles on what we do and what I've done and stuff. So it just makes it interesting. That's on what we do, I think, is
right.
The tag along the top. But and then that is the one that goes to Twitter as well.
Okay.
That automatically gets posted to Twitter as soon.
Right, so that's linking. So Twitter's linking onto the website, and the website's also linking over to, you know, then
Absolutely.
Content on the website goes onto Twitter to then bring, you know, and a shortened version to then bring people back onto the website to, yeah, you've got it all set up, you know,
the website is the one that actually is drawing in the members and drawing in the potential candidates.
Yes.
And that's the one that really makes it work. But it's shown by, I don't think there's many websites that have brought in sort of 60 odd.
No, I mean, to be honest, when I'd been contacted, and the irony of it is, I was contacted through Twitter, you know, by Owen, who had then, you know, contacted and said, you know, well, can I put you in contact with someone? And it was like, oh, yes. Well, yeah, I've had a few younger Masons. Yes, it would make sense to talk a little bit more. I've had a few conversations with people that have gone around the area of social media and Twitter recently. And then, yeah, it would make sense. And it wasn't until I really started, you know, looking, because I've seen your post obviously go up on Twitter and everything all the time. And it wasn't until it was like, hang on a minute, this is all from this one account, actually. Yeah, and you start thinking, crikey, you really have pushed back some boundaries there. And I think you've talking about setting a high standard for, you know, other lodges to follow. But as you said, there's not really much to stop other lodges from trying to repeat that sort of success in their own provinces. They've just got to put the work and effort in to do it.
Yeah.
And
of course, what you've got to realise is that there are, let's say, I think the statistics that I pulled up, there are 30 odd million people in the United Kingdom with smartphones. If you take half of those are male, the 17 million, and I believe it's something like about 75% of those are aged between 21 and 45. You've got something like about, let's say, 17 odd million people. All you're looking for is one.
Sure.
And that's the great statistic.
And that is pretty much bang on. I think it changed recently, but I think that's pretty much bang on the odds of winning the lottery. About 1 in 17 million, the national lottery. So to be honest, if you're thinking, well, hang on, you've got a lot better odds of bringing someone into Freemasonry than winning the lottery. So why aren't you out doing, you know, but people will happily go and spend money trying to couple of quid on the lottery each week when, you know, we could be doing this. Yeah, sure. That's the thing. Well, Nigel, what we'll do is, I mean, we've covered loads about the social media side of things. I think what we'll be doing is hopefully having you back on in the future as well to talk a little bit. I've got a feeling that what's probably happened is not only now people listening to this are going to be thinking, yeah, this is good. We might be raising more questions than we're answering with this sort of conversation, especially for maybe some people who know of Twitter, who know of websites, those sort of people who, how should we say, when I found myself having to do it 4 or 5 years ago in my lodge, I didn't do it because I was an expert. It's just because what's the phrase? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I'm the person who actually kind of knew how to set up a website, so hence in the lodge I was the web expert. Doesn't make me a website expert by any means, and I'm sure there's lots of people listening to this who are finding themselves in that same position. So what I'll say to any listeners of In the Chair, do contact me if you have any questions. Best way to do it is either through Twitter, which on here is Masonic Podcast, so go on to Twitter @Masonic Podcast, or of course email me directly, robert@masonicpodcast.com. masonicpodcast.com. And then what I'll do is hopefully get a few questions, and of course go onto the website. There's the comments page there as well. Leave any questions or comments you have, and then hopefully what we'll do is hopefully get Nigel back on in the future, who can then go through, because we spent actually quite a while, half hour or so, chatting about this, and in all honesty, we've barely scratched the surface, have we? I know you've got a presentation and you can really start drilling down, and I know you mentioned you look at all the stats that you pull up, and you obviously use that to improve, keep on fine-tuning.
Absolutely, all the time.
So all the time, so it's not just a case of set it up and leave it, it's you are constantly coming and tweaking and adapting. So yeah, anyone who's listening to this who maybe finds themselves having to, or maybe either find themselves having to do it, or at the moment there's no one else in their lodge doing it, especially if they're in a lodge with numbers that are dwindling, then please get in contact. Let me know any questions, and of course I'll put you in contact with Nigel as well. Nigel, I'm assuming that's going to be okay with you to come back on maybe in a few weeks or in a couple of months, if that's okay.
Absolutely, Robert. Thank you so much for
brilliant
backing me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to
Great.
you. And I look forward to actually sort of seeing you move forward with your podcasts.
Thank you. Yeah,
I wish you well.
Well, thank you very much, because all of this that I've been doing has all been promoted through Twitter and everything as well. So from my point of view, the more people I can get on Twitter and tweeting about this sort of thing, the better it is for everyone. So Nigel, I will call that we'll call that to the end a little bit now, because we've gone through. I'm sure there's a few people that have been genuinely listening to this and making notes. Go on to the show notes. It's going to be on the website, so masonicpodcast.com. Follow the link on through to the show notes there. We'll have a bit of a summary. Also, Nigel did mention he's got a few little graphs and those sort of things from a presentation. I'll try and pop some of those into the show notes as well, so you can actually see what we're talking about, as well as having all those links to the Twitter and website. So again, many, many thanks, Nigel, from obviously on my behalf, as well as all the listeners in the chair. So you've been listening to Nigel Harris Cooksley from North Harrow Lodge. Nigel, many thanks for your time, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Robert. Nice to see you.
My thanks once again to Nigel Harris Cooksley from North Harrow Lodge. Many thanks, Nigel, for taking the time out and imparting all that information to all the In the Chair listeners out there. And I hope that you all got something from that. I know I did. I took loads of notes. And genuinely, although we'd set up a website for Kennet Lodge, those are going to be getting implemented. Some of the things, when you think about it, are just so obvious. But of course, we're looking at it from one side. We're looking at it from the inside, I guess. And we're looking at some things about how we think it is, and we're not putting ourselves in the minds of the people looking in at us. And I think what he's done is he's managed to crack that and then start applying that. And the whole way we've got that net of social media, and it all feeds back to that website, using that as the central hub, which then generates the inquiry, which then of course starts the ball rolling and things. Then you can have the interviews and really meet up with the candidates and bring them in. And with 100% retention on 60 candidates, then that is phenomenal. So not only thanks to Nigel for coming on the show, but I think congratulations for him and what he's doing for his lodge and what he's also doing for Middlesex Province. That is fantastic on there. As I said in there and at the beginning, if you've got questions, please do get in contact. Hopefully we'll do that in a couple of weeks' time. Drop me an email. It's robert@masonicpodcast.com, or through Twitter. It's Masonic Podcast on Twitter. So at twitter.com/Masonic Podcast. And also, talking of social media, we do actually have a new Facebook group that actually got set up at the request of some listeners. And to find that, you can either go onto Facebook, do the search, or the easy way is go onto masonicpodcast.com/Facebook. And what will happen is that will redirect you through to the Facebook group. So just go onto masonicpodcast.com/Facebook, and that will take you through to the group. You need to access it. You need to be a member in order to sort of contribute to it, but it's not a private group. Otherwise, no one would ever be able to find it. So, and of course, once you're a member, And if you have friends of yours on Facebook who are also Masons, feel free to add them and let's build a little bit of a community. So you could also ask questions on there and I'll pop them over to Nigel. And of course, if you're not a Facebook user, if you're looking at Twitter and going, I'm not too sure what that is, well, you should have just been listening to the interview and hopefully you will be very soon. But you can also go onto the show notes on the website. So that was masonicpodcast.com/12, and there's the comments on there. You can just log on to create a little username and leave comments on there, and I'll use those comments as well. So there's quite a few ways for you to get in contact with me, and we will then transfer that over to Nigel. One thing that actually someone raised after listening to, and this is a comment I had after listening to the last show, number 11, which was about the university scheme, when we had been saying about lodges in the university scheme can obviously bring members in from 18, whereas the standard age is 21. He actually corrected me and said, well, actually, any lodge can bring a member in. And I know Nigel said about this, they waited until they had a member who was 21 years old. He's actually said, no, any lodge can bring a new member in from 18. However, for individual cases, then they do need to get dispensation. But that means if you are doing this and you have an inquiry from someone who is under 21 and they are a good potential candidate, someone who would be good for Freemasonry, you don't have to say go away, come back on your 21st birthday. If they're good enough and you can have the interview and you think, we can do this, there's no point in waiting, you can get the dispensation and bring them into Freemasonry and do that. So, I just thought I'd point that out. So many thanks to Stan for pointing that out to me. It's one of those things where you learn, but that's the whole point of having this out. It brings it to other people's attention, and then it actually starts the conversation on all of that. So I think that pretty much sums about everything up. So I hope you have enjoyed that. Once again, thank you to Nigel for taking his time out of the day. We had quite a chat, and also, thanks in advance for him going to be coming on to answer your questions again. And by the way, many thanks for all the people that have sent me invites for visiting. I have got them. If I haven't got back to you, I'm seriously apologise. I know it's quite rude of me. I should have got back to people. I've been a bit inundated with them, and I've got a whole load of provincial commitments as well as a few things in my personal life. So I hope to get some of those bits out of the way and then get a bit further afield. But thank you, and I hope you enjoy that, and I will see you again next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to In the Chair. Visit masonicpodcast.com to see the show notes and in-the-chair.co.uk for more resources to help you get the most out of your Masonic journey. If you enjoyed the show, please let us know by rating and reviewing it on iTunes. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss our next podcast. If you're not already, follow us on Twitter at Masonic Podcast.